Oh, sorry, my hands are a little wet. Let me just... Hey everybody, welcome to Film Fireside. I'm thinking of ending things, the new Charlie Kaufman film that dropped on Netflix today. Watched it this morning. This film is still settling a little bit. I don't even know. One thing I do know though, and I can honestly say, is I liked it. This film is especially unique for Charlie Kaufman. I mentioned this in my just review of some other Kaufman films, but one thing he tends to do is a lot of his movies, sometimes it's all resolved or even explained within the last 5 seconds or even last couple of scenes. This film was a little more unique in that the entire time I just felt like I was just gaining all this weight from the story, so that when it ended, there were certain things that I've just been building the entire time emotionally for me, and even things I didn't quite get, or maybe even things that I chose to forget about because I was thinking they may not be important anymore. And those have all just been kind of playing through my head over and over and over again. I gotta say, this is Kaufman at his finest. This is some damn good writing, and he directed this one too, which is great. I'm really happy he directed this movie. He got a great performance out of everybody. Jesse Buckley and Jesse Plemons' characters were so good. They were so good. For those of you who don't know, the story is about a young couple and they're going to visit his parents, go to his parents' house, and as they're there, strange things ensue and begin to take place. And even that description in and of itself only kind of does this film justice. This is kind of hard to talk about without spoiling it necessarily. One of the things about this film, usually when I dislike a film, I ask myself the question, I didn't like it, but do I see others liking it? I'm going to ask that question in reverse. I'm going to ask, I loved this film, but do I genuinely see everyone else liking it? Honestly, no. This takes a lot of work. Here I am 2 hours after watching the movie, and I'm still just in this odd state of mind where everything is just processing still, It's definitely an emotional experience. I'm torn to a certain extent because I understand, I really don't like when a film is too good for their audience, when it comes across that way. I personally don't think it crossed that line of, well, we're too advanced for the average moviegoer, and if you don't get it, then that's on you. You're just not into movies the way we are. I really don't like films that do that. That's very polarizing in my opinion. And I don't ever think Kaufman films do that. This one flirts with that line a little bit. But even then though, I think it flirts with it just about the entire movie until last 5 to 10 minutes. Things kind of wrapped up for me and made me go, oh, okay. But again, it's pretty subtle. And even in the way that it wraps up, it's pretty subtle. The way they portray that is pretty subtle. It would require a lot of work and maybe even some prior information. As far as visually speaking, maybe next to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, this is one of Kaufman's most beautiful films visually. But even then, he didn't direct Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Perhaps I can't even compare the two, but so I'll just say this is one of the most visually stunning films I have seen probably all year. I was just hooked to the camera movements, the color schemes, the costume design, and it's just so beautiful. Just everything was just so good. And things were just taking place where camera angles would shift suddenly or something would happen to the scenery, and it's very, very subtle that it just kept me so engaged the whole time. It's an experience. Kaufman films are an experience to be had much more than they are a story or a lesson to be told. I read someone critique this film by saying he's being very cynical and hopeless, and it makes him not want to watch the movie. It made it feel according to this person, made him feel like it was a waste of time that they had watched the movie. And I disagree with that. Kaufman's films don't need to teach lessons. We kind of bring that with us to the story, And even then, I don't know if I needed a lesson out of this necessarily. This was kind of a character study, more or less. Well, actually, no. It is a character study. This film's a character study. It's a very unconventional, risky, and very almost meta type of character study, and I was on board for it the whole time. I have just not been this impacted by a film for a long time. And I'm talking a new film, a recent release. This is probably my favorite film of the year. But again, I say that, and I know a lot of people, especially, my friends and family who maybe don't appreciate cinema as much as I do, are going to hear that and then watch it and then be like, But it is. It's my favorite film of the year so far. Really appreciated this film. My one complaint of the film is the pacing. A lot of this film is just dialogue. It's just a lot of dialogue. Again, there's those subtle cinematography things that I was able to pick up on and appreciate, and I bet many others can as well. But there is consistently just dialogue happening, and the dialogue shifts in topic randomly, so it almost seems pointless. And I kind of thought it was until the last like 10 minutes of the movie, and then again, I'm now cycling through all that dialogue going, oh, even though I can appreciate those scenes now that I've seen the whole thing, I still say it is slow. There's definitely a point within like the second act I started to feel like, wow, there's an hour left still? Like, wow, really? What are they gonna do? Are they gonna keep doing this for like another hour? But other than that, that's like my one complaint of the movie. My score of this film is I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Wow! It's good stuff. It's my favorite film of the year. I would like to explain why more, but that would require spoilers. So I'm going to give a spoiler warning. If you have not seen I'm Thinking of Ending Things, go watch it and come back. For me, the very beginning, there is a shot that is really subtle. It's really quick. I was fortunately able to catch it. I guess I just kind of went into this knowing like, okay, I know Kaufman, I know his tricks, I've been watching his films recently, and I just kind of know I got to be paying attention, especially to the things I'm looking at too. If you'll notice, the janitor character is looking out the window during her kind of opening monologue of I'm thinking about ending things. And we see the same shot, and it's really subtle. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it, because it's the janitor at first, but then it's the same shot, but because the light's coming in, you can't really tell, but it's Jesse Plemons at the window instead of the old janitor man, but they're wearing the same clothes. So right at the beginning, I knew right away. I was like, oh, okay. I don't think Jesse Plemons is exactly who he says he is. And there was those shots of the janitor. I was like, okay, this is like future him, what future him is going to look like and going to end up doing. But then the dialogue was interesting in that it was going a direction that it wasn't that case, so I was engaged, really listening to the dialogue. So the whole time I was kind of waiting for like maybe a reveal of some kind that's like, oh, this something happened and it affected his life, and now he is dealing with it in this later time of life. But that's too simple and not weird enough for our good friend Charlie. When they're in the house, Jessie Buckley's character, who is cast, by the way, as Young Woman. She's billed in this show as Young Woman. I don't know if you all noticed that or not, because her name changes very frequently throughout the film. She's first referred to as Lucy, then she's referred to as Yvonne and Lucia and Lucienne. I can't remember. There's a lot of different names that she's referred to as by Jake and Jake's family. First thing I want to point out is when talking about the fact that she's an artist, she says she wants to show her paintings to the parents, and she gets out her phone, shows the paintings, and weird stuff ensues, and then we move on. She then is tasked to go to the basement to do some laundry. When she's down there, she finds a room with some paintings in it, and one of the paintings is signed Jake, as in it was his painting, which is interesting. Another moment that happened when she's looking in the house, they're sitting in the living room, she sees a picture of a young, what looks like little girl version of herself, and goes, who is this? Jake comes over, looks at it, and says, can't you tell? Look closer, and it's different, and it's him as a little boy. Now, those things I just thought were trying to be weird. For me, that all made sense in, again, like the last 5 minutes of the movie, when Jesse Plemons is in old person makeup and recreates the end scene from A Beautiful Mind. Did you guys catch that? It is like shot for shot a recreation of a scene from A Beautiful Mind. Probably wouldn't have picked up on it, actually. I may not have noticed it if I didn't notice earlier, going back to the house, Jessie Buckley is exploring Jake's room. As she's kind of looking through his stuff, you see there is a copy of the DVD of A Beautiful Mind there. For those of you who don't know, A Beautiful Mind is loosely based on a true story of a man who won the Nobel Prize, but this man had schizophrenia. And part of this story is he made up people in his life and had to deal with and come to terms with the fact that certain people in his life weren't real. So what does that tell us about Jake the janitor, who maybe as an old man is experiencing delusions of grandeur or even making up fake people? I love this idea that Jessie Buckley's character, who again is just Young Woman, is Jake. They are the same person. We see that from the paintings, we see that from the photograph on the wall, and we see it from the A Beautiful Mind reference. So beautiful. That's why I like this film a lot. That's why this film is now just settling, and I like that story a lot more. Which, by the way, this isn't just a theory of mine. This is, I went and double checked this. This actually coincides with the book, the original book that this is based off of. That's how the book ends, more or less. Obviously, Charlie Kaufman took his own liberties with it because that's what he does. But the book, which is written from her perspective as well, she comes to realize that her and Jake are the same person, as well as the janitor, more or less. The book ends too, and it's left very much open to interpretation, as is this movie. This has dual references in it. It doesn't only depend on A Beautiful Mind. That's the more subtle reference. The more direct reference is Oklahoma. They literally recreate the ballet scene from Oklahoma. Jake, at the very end, Jake sings Judd's song from Oklahoma. If you're not familiar with Oklahoma, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I need a refresher as well. But Judd's character, he's the caretaker in Oklahoma, which, I mean, more or less a janitor, who is the antagonist of the story of Oklahoma, but his story is kind of sad. He's awkward, never really met a girl, and through that he becomes cynical and starts to do inappropriate things. And the song he sings beautifully fits both worlds here, and I'm still just thinking about it, I'm still just processing it. It's so well done. It is so well done. That was perfect meshing of the film I'm Thinking of Ending Things, A Beautiful Mind, and the musical Oklahoma. This works so beautifully at the end. I'm still processing the fact that Charlie Kaufman referenced so many things at the end there. It served the story and the ending so very well. Because of that, I watched the last 10 minutes again. As soon as it ended, I was like, I need to watch that again because it was so good. And I did, and it's amazing. So my interpretation of it, I don't know. I'm still trying to grasp it all. I don't think it's as cynical as that one critic I was mentioning earlier has said. I don't know. There's just a lot to bring into the story, and if it's just hopeless, sad, and meaningless, well, that's honestly, Mr. Critic, that's what you brought to the story. That's on you. Thank you so much for. Oh, that's weird. Thank you so much for watching. For those who are here for the spoilers, hopefully you appreciated that. My goal was, I wasn't going to do a spoiler. I kind of wanted to just do that, hoping people would just be like, what's going on here? Comment on this video, let me know what you thought of I'm Thinking of Ending Things. If you're here at this point, obviously you've seen the film, so you don't mind the spoilers. Start a discussion with me in the comments. What did you take from this movie? What is your experience with this film? Would you further my interpretation of it? Would you add your own spin on the interpretation of it? Mention the things I didn't mention. Start a discussion with me. I'd love to get a discussion going with you in the comments about this movie. While you're here, go ahead and like this video. It does nothing but support the channel, and I really appreciate it when you do. Also, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any content. Thank you so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Bye-bye.